we're not able to understand. And this othering is the main reason for creation of villain, according to me. I want you to look at these two pictures here from the same movie, Maleficent, portraying a super villain slash superheroine and again a superheroine. Now, only difference between these two characters is the characterization itself. The black, the contrast, the devil-like horns, with an innocent, beautiful, young, white, the dressing, despite both of them being white in color, their skin color being white, look at the way Maleficent is dressed and look at the way Aurora is dressed. This antithesis of black and white has always been a part of creation of myth, creation of superhero stories, creation of villain as well as in heroes. That brings me to the question, how exactly do we separate them? Is there a point where one person can become villain and one person can become heroine? For that, I want you to look into this situation. Now, if you have seen Spider-Man series, you are very much aware of this character. This character is Sandman. Basically, I find that every Spider-Man villain is a person who has been wronged. When Sandman, the character of Sandman is created, he is shown as a very pathetic, a person who is so much in love with his daughter, and he does a crime. He comes to steal to save his daughter, but then he ends up, in a science laboratory, and he's annihilated, and in that process he becomes Sandman. But this particular sequence from the video, it shows how Sandman exactly is an emotional person, has humanity inside him, and how he transforms himself into a villain. From wronging comes naming. Now, I want you to look into the character, the history, the naming of Sandman. Sandman has always been a mythological figure. When you're scared, there are stories that your parents tell to put you to sleep. Similarly, in northern folklore, there is a characterization of Sandman where children are told the story that if you do not sleep, Sandman will come take you away in a sack. Now, Sandman has been an antithetical character from the beginning, from the origin. But the Sandman that we see here in this video is the person who loves children, who loves his own daughter very much. Also, look at the title Maleficent. Maleficent is a person who destructs through her supernatural power. Joker. Why is Joker named Joker? Is it because he's always laughing? Is it because he induces laugh? Thanos. When it comes to Thanos again, the derivation of name comes from the word death. Why are these characters named the way they are named? If we look into that history, we find that naming itself is politicizing. While naming a character itself, the creator of that comic tries to tries to find a loophole as to how the character can become antithetical to hero. So it is basically by unheroing, by taking away the characterization of hero, a villain is created. The villain is projected to our eyes. Generally, in Greek mythology, we have this concept of amercia, the fatal flaw. I want you to look into all our super villains and identify that amercia. I have tried doing four villains here. But if you look into other villains, other super villains, you will be able to trace their amercia. For example, what I see when it comes to Maleficent character is trust. She trusts in love. And when that ideology is disrupted, she becomes evil, or so-called evil according to a human's eye. Similarly, Hancock. It's a beautiful picture that I have put here. Hancock is a drunkard. Hancock is an alcoholic, a person with so much of anger issues. But inside that characterization, inside that character that Will Smith projected, there was always a fatal flaw where he was constantly afraid of being alone. He was afraid that, his characterization was so that maybe I am the last person. Similarly, Harley Quinn. When it comes to Harley Quinn, it's pride. But when we look into the history of Harley Quinn, it comes of insecurity. It comes of the pride comes out of insecurities that she has faced in her life. But I wanted to look at the difference that's happening here. When it came to Maleficent, the fatal flaw that she had was so great in itself. It was something like, she was wrong. But when it comes to Joker, it becomes an inevitable fatal flaw. It rather becomes a disease itself. Pseudopulvar is something that Joker does not grow inside himself or develop inside himself. He suffers from it. Now the suffering, the difference between the suffering and development is what I want you to look at. And these characters make them the human. More than that, they transform from villain to anti-villain to humanizing the hero itself. Now the question is, wasn't damage factor always considered heroic? How many brooding heroes do we have? How many brooding superheroes have we have? We have always hero worshipped them. When it comes to Byron, but when Byron's image, the brooding image was made into Dracula, we made it into a supervillain. Contrarily, look at Batman. Batman is known for his brooding nature. In contradiction with Iron Man again, who is friendly, who loves being with women, who has, who has money, power, richness, who likes showing off. So what narrative are we projecting? The question is, when the world is against you, what do you do? Magneto and Mystique are two beautiful characters where they become villain purely because of us, the people. We do not understand them. We do not understand the uniqueness, the quirkiness, the weirdness the character possesses. Hence, when we do not understand, as I said earlier in the othering, we make them the villains. There is this sitcom series called Umbrella Academy. And in Umbrella Academy, it deals with 7 superheroes. Among the 7 superheroes, there is one character, Vanya. Vanya writes a book in her life called Extraordinary, My Life as Number 7. Now the point here is, she is always told by her father that You're an ordinary person. You do not possess any special power, any secret power. You are not a super person. Now here, she is always projected as an ordinary person among all those 6 other people who had extraordinary special powers. But she grows up and she discovers that she has a special power, which is more powerful than all the 6 put together. I want us to look from all the slides I have put before. What exactly are we deriving it?
Hello, Lakshmi.
I think I'm having some connection issue. Am I audible?
Okay, no, we can hear you.
Yeah, fine. I just have a couple of more slides. I'll finish it off fast. I was just deriving it. Why is it the zeitgeist that creates its narratives? From all the previous slides that I have projected, what we find is that we are being provided what we want to look at. At the same time, the othering is one factor that creates its supervillains. I have tried to give us a couple of reasons. Is it because of adiaphorization? The excess of violence that we are used to in real life, is what deciding our mindset today. The next question is, are we feeling wrong? Are we connecting to heroes or villains of today? And the final question is, are we being manipulated by the creators? I want you to look at these 2 pictures. Iron Man, you all know Iron Man. But there is this one character, Deep, from a recent series called The Boys. Now the question is, both of them have a similar characterization. Both of them are womanizer. But when Iron Man does it, when Iron Man is projected, or when Iron Man in the first movie, when he wrongs a woman, we take it as a fun factor. We laugh at that joke. But the narrative has changed today. A similar sequence, similar scene is portrayed in Boys, where Deep actually wrongs a woman, and he is taken away from the superhero cluster. My question is, who is drawing this line? Why is Iron Man a hero while Deep the villain? Or it should be, why Iron Man not the villain? I'm asking you to look at from today's perspective, after Me Too, with Me Too, while we are talking about work, empowerment, women, liberation. Look at characters, look at the way they develop, and then react to it. Similarly, look at these four characters. Who decides the cause here? Thanos, he wants the people, 50% of the population to be eradicated because he feels that otherwise world may not survive the way it is. Otherwise, rich people will be getting richer and poor people will be getting poorer. Maleficent. What does Maleficent do? Why is she even called a supervillain? All she does is protect the nature. Killmonger. All he wants is to liberate black people. Dr. Manhattan thinks in similar vein. Honestly speaking, I feel that we connect ourselves to villain today so much because we can empathize with them. And that is exactly where the superhero and supervillain, the dynamics between them changes. And I see this change as a positive change. From unheroing and hero worshipping, I want you to look at the difference. We have moved today from hero worshipping, where everybody wanted to be like those superheroes. Rather, we have started questioning the whole point. I think when somebody comes up with the concept of superheroes and their narratives, I think we have put them down from the pedestal. We have started questioning whether should we be hero worshipping them anymore. And there comes the concept of unheroing. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Lakshmi. Now we move to